There's nothing worse than a kid feeling like that their dad doesn't love them, even if it's not true. This year is the year that I almost lost my son. My oldest son was trying to commit suicide. And there was things that we didn't necessarily see, my wife and I. Well, she felt it, I evaluated it, right? And so it's things that I've known some that have literally lost their kid. They didn't have the opportunity that we have to be able to see with different eyes, make radical decisions for us to be able to be back whole and move forward.
Today's guest is Julien Marion, and normally, Julien, I have this crazy cool intro, but your intro is so amazing. I want you to bring the heat.
Most of my life living in Africa has been black people tell me I'm white people tell me I'm black, and so it's really being this thing of just like trying to find your identity. No kid likes to be in their own island kind of thing, where I was like, I don't want to be about like me. I just want to be them or them. But at some point, like it flipped, and I just said, you know what, then just F you guys and F you guys, I'm gonna be better than both of you. Achievers tie success to worthiness and love. And so if I don't have success in my business, if I don't have success in my launch, if I don't have success, I'm not worthy of love. And so I'm gonna create all the environments for me not to receive love. Probably the thing that I've been the proudest of is being present in my kid's life when I was not physically there.
Let's dance! Welcome to the Dadera podcast, redefining what it means to be a dad, one story at a time. And today's guest is Julien Marion. And normally, Julien, I have this crazy cool intro because in the dad space, sometimes I'm the one that brings the heat and brings the intros, but your intro is so amazing, and rightfully so. Your energy probably exceeds mine, which is very difficult. I do drink a lot of caffeine. So I'm gonna let you be the first ever guest. Let's hear your intro, but I want you to bring the heat.
But thank you. Look, I have 6 kids, so there's not a lot of opportunities to not have a lot of energy in this life. I have a 15-year-old son, 13-year-old daughter, 11-year-old son, 9-year-old son, 7-year-old son, and then a soon-to-be 3-year-old daughter. So there's a lot of energy in my house, and so you have to be able to I'm not going to say match, but you have to be enough of a container to be able to handle all of those energies and not trying to suppress them or get so triggered by them. And that means that you have to be what I call like being vibrant. You have to be vibrant enough, right? Because kids can feel it. So a little bit about me. Born and raised in the Congo, lived in Belgium, then United States, been in the US since I was 18, about to be 40. I run a dance studio with my wife in Texas. I coach men to help them just go through all their different storms, especially married entrepreneur dads, because as men, we have a lot of storms we go through. As entrepreneurs, we have even more storms we go through. And when we marry and we have kids, is what my coach used to say is the trifecta of insanity. You have so many different things coming at you, and sometimes you feel like nobody understands, right? Because you're the last one. You hire, you fire, you spend the money. You're the main leader, and you have to be that everywhere, and it's very heavy. Sometimes. I'm the author of 3 books, 21 Days to Unlimited, Get It Out, Transformation Happens in the Decision, not the outcome. And the last one that is going to come out sometime this December is Gentle Rage, which is all about helping good men not shrink. Because one thing that I've understood inside of like coaching, inside of my life is you have good men that want peace, and so they shrink. Because they don't want to ruffle the feathers. They accepted their faith, right? If they tried a business before and they failed, now they're like, yeah, maybe business is not for me, and my family is more important, so they shrink. If every time they're trying to be themselves, the wife just comes back with more intensity or something they don't understand. They're like, peace is better than confrontation, so I shrink. And so that is kind of this fire starter for them to get it. Like I go to deep stuff in there for me, realization that I got to be able to kind of do what I say, gentle rage, which is a fire that forges, not burn. So here we are now, both doing.
I love it. Love it. Listen, I appreciate your time. I'm a little self-centered right now. I'm more so the guest. I want to leverage what's in that big, beautiful brain, clearly of yours. So, but from the Congo perspective, I'm curious how many languages you speak. For the dancing perspective, I'm not going to lie. I'm curious, what's your best, kind of dance flavor? I would say 6'3", 250 or up to 320, depending on how many jet tailgates I go to. I'm a big football Bubba Burger guy. But mine is actually salsa. I promised myself this year I'd learn salsa. So me and my girlfriend, we're doing the whole salsa thing, which is cool. But then everything in terms of you and just your background to unpack it. So do you speak multiple languages?
Yes, my first language is French. So everything else has faded away, but French is still there and in English.
Nice. Your best dance? Are you going to tell me a little bit of hip hop flavor? Are you going to tell me?
I mean, hip hop. I mean, hip hop is what, at the studio I used to teach. It's not my background. I played basketball my whole life. So I
Nice.
played basketball. I got on the youth national team, was the captain, played in the US. And then I went through entrepreneurship when I was like, I'm not going to be, I'm not going to go the route of professional. I got a cornea transplant when I was 21. And so it was a decision of, do I continue with that or do I look for something else? And I said, look for something else. And
Yeah, I
so
mean, for me, I'm a football guy, but I was like, you know what? I've always had like the two step, the two step. You know, crush the two
you
step.
safe. Hey, you safe in there.
Yeah, yeah, and I love some of the salsa music, and I just kind of got into it. But I'm definitely one of the largest humans I think that's ever tried salsa. So fun, but no, I definitely appreciate a dude letting it loose on the dance floor for sure. So when you bring me back, when we bring to young Julien, because I obviously everything you do now, all the books, you being a coach, a mentor. I mean, even just for myself, sure you'd be outstanding. But bring me back to when you were little. What was it like growing up? How was your relationship with your dad? How do you think you turned into later in life? I mean, listen, 6 kids, you talk about football, you go from man to zone to, I don't know what defense you're deploying, your family. It's super interesting, but why don't you give me a little story from your upbringing?
Yeah, so for me, it's very interesting, even how I got into men's work. So I was, for me, most of my life living in Africa has been black people tell me I'm white people tell me I'm black. And so it's really being this thing of just like trying to find your identity, and I was a kid that I was born with my feet. I don't know how you say it in English. In French is les pieds beaux, which is like your feet are turned inside, right? So you can clap it like this. So they're not like this, they turn inside. And so ever since I was young, like I had to, get cast. I had to get the shoes the opposite way just so that my feet, could stay, correctly. And then had a high level of ADHD and energy. And that was a time of, Bruce Lee and Jean-Claude Van Damme and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a very fiery energy. But that pretty much it. I was there. Black people tell me I'm white people tell me I'm black. And I was just like had this weird place of feeling like I don't belong anywhere. And I wanted to belong so bad.
Did you ever have anyone to vent that to? Some of your feelings, kind of like 'cause that's a lot. Identity is a lot. So
Yeah, yeah. I told, obviously my mom, and she told me like, hey, you're not that, you're mixed. And, no kid likes to be in their own island kind of thing. Where I was like, I don't want to be about like me. I just want to be them or them. But at some point, like it flipped and I just said, you know what, then just F you guys and F you guys, I'm going to be better than both of you. And so that really was like that chip on my shoulder, which was great for sports, right? Great for business, but horrible as a father, as a husband, because competition becomes everything. Because you just want to beat everybody, you want to destroy everybody, you want to show that you're better than everybody. Not necessarily to push them down, but to prove you that you are worthy, right? And so what that did for me is I saw every single man as competition. That means I wouldn't trust anything that you're saying.
like
I'll be
chip
like,
on
yeah,
your
yeah.
shoulder almost.
Right. But I also see it as my competition. And so that means like I can trust you. That means like there'll be this huge alpha energy if I'm with you. Because it's going to be like one of us is going to dominate the other one.
Peacocking.
Right. And I'm like, and I'm sure it's not going to be me that's not going to get dominated. You know what I mean? And so at some point, I realized that wound of worthiness that was like instead of achievement, instead of like pushing people down so that I can feel worthy because I didn't feel worthy. Right? Because it's like there's no such thing as unconditional love, especially if you're a former athlete. I think you understand that. It's just like you are loved whenever you're, especially in football, right? You do the blocks, you do a touchdown, you pass, like, yeah, Andrew. And you're like, okay. And when Andrew is messing up, it's like, get to the bench, and you're like, damn
Yeah. What have you
it. And
done for
you're
me lately? Yeah.
right, and you're there, and you accept it, right? You're like, oh yeah, it makes sense. I didn't do good. It's okay, I didn't do good. It's like now you feel like if you do good, you should be loved, be admired, be cared for. If you don't do good, no, you don't deserve it. And that really is something that messes with a lot of men, especially achievers. Is like achievers tie success to worthiness and love. And so if I don't have success in my business, if I don't have success in my launch, if I don't have success, I'm not worthy of love. And so I'm gonna create all the environments for me not to receive love, right? And so that's when I got that realization, I realized that Andrew is not my enemy. Andrew is my brother. Andrew goes through the same pain, the same problem, the same challenges as I do. My life just has an intensity about it right now. where there's an acceleration because I have 6 kids, because I got married at 23, I got my first kid at 24, and I started a business at 26 with my wife. And because I'm not afraid to take risk. So my learning curve is so steep because I'm learning so fast, but I'm also experiencing so much that it can be heavy. And I know that a lot of men have not and are still risk advert or thinking it's her fault, it's his fault, it's my parents' fault, instead of having this understanding that no, there's so many wounds that you haven't healed yet. There's so many mirrors that you haven't looked at. So that's kind of how the Congo, Belgium, United States came about me working with men.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, you have a really cool story in those books. I mean, I'd love getting the opportunity to read up on them. I'm really trying to, do the diligence on that stuff. But would you say going from a place of what you had initially to where you are now, is there a specific time? Because you reference it, but like, was there a time? Is there a specific event? Was it having your first child? Was there a specific thing where you think because it sounds like you probably were always empathetic, where you're like, you know what? I understand guys a little bit now, and I want to help them. I want to coach them. I want to better them.
I'm gonna say that I'm not always been empathetic, because especially in the beginning, I didn't give a damn. This is the reality. If I'm in a world of competition, I really don't care about you. Like, I care about my people, and that's why in most roles that I've had, I was a captain, right? Because I would get into my guys and I would encourage them, right? And I would care about them in that way. But I would not. If you're not doing what I'm doing, I really don't care about you. Like, I don't. And so I'll be very fast at like removing people from my life. Right? If you're not going the same direction as me, hey, I don't see a purpose. It must be, you know what I mean? And so literally, like, every single book that I wrote was literally that moment, right? So like, for example, like this first one, 21 Days to Unlimited. This is actually how I met, a guy that really had pivoted my life a little bit. We kind of know him, Evan, right? Evan Carmichael. And so this book I wrote in 2015. That's back when Evan and I started talking. And the whole premise behind that book was like, there's nothing that you can't do. That the only limit is the one that you set yourself or allow others to set for you. That is when I took the full route of becoming a full-time entrepreneur. I was a professor at a college, assistant director of admission, had 2 kids, third one away, and then I felt this call to just go full-time entrepreneurship. And it didn't pan out, right? My ego was still high. We had to sell the house because that was the only equity that we have. Like, that was a dark, dark journey. And then that's when this is the big moment, get it out, when I realized that there was something in me. Like, whenever this happened and I was in this middle, I had to put the podcast on hold. I had to put the writing books on hold. I had to put the speaking on hold. But I felt deep inside that was my fire. And I literally had to focus on the core legacy business, which was the studio. I had to grab it and put it away. And it felt so painful. Like, this is wrong. But I had to understand that where this is what needs to happen right now. And so the get it out was like coming in and being all in, right? Being all in with God, sharing all my lies, with my wife, the resentment that I had to other people. Like, that's one of the first thing I do instead of my coaching is just people have to go through the release stage and you do a resentment list. And then you reach out to the people that you hold resentment to and you let them know.
So give me a little bit about it. I would love to hear a little bit about that. So go through that process with me. So, we, specifically in Dad Are Up, we have dads. There's this cool thing, Julien, we're really focusing on, a 30-day transformation. We offer all dads first 30 days, 30-day transformation, where the big focus is called the dad identity. So to me, and I'm sure you would agree, that as a guy especially, you can't outperform your identity. So if you wake up, you look in the mirror, right, wrong, or different, you're alone, and you feel that you're a certain type of father, certain type of man, you could do the thing, but the real core, I mean, you work on, I call it the micro. Every day is like the micro. The macro is the real core of it is you have to work on, your identity specifically. So where do you think from a coaching perspective, like especially guys that you've spoken to, have you seen kind of a lot of their backstory has been a direct influence of their dad identity? Is that something that you think you can kind of change, their backstory? How much does that past affect who they are today?
I think the first thing to understand is like, I can't change anyone. I can't change anyone. I can't transform anyone. I can only be the guide and showing them where the bridge is. That's it. Like, I think the biggest understanding is that it's like, as a coach, you're a guide. And the only thing I can do is just being a mirror permission for you. but I cannot change. I don't have I'm not a savior. I don't have the power to change you. I don't have power to transform you. I can just take you to those places, and I can make you go deep, and I can hold the line.
You
Like
think you're
I'm
like a tough
very,
love guy, maybe? It would like a
yeah.
mixture of like I like Goggins, right? Like he's aggressive. Sometimes I don't know if you bring that to parenting, the same flavor as Jocko and Goggins, but what's like your core from you coaching, especially you coaching dad specifically? Is there kind of a methodology you like to deploy? You're not the unconditional love guy.
No, but I'm many things. Do you know what I mean? I am many things. What I do know is like I attract versions of me. Like there's something that you start to understand. Is just like instead of doing life in this call, is like you're attracting versions of you. So that means the guys that you're working with are versions of you. And so understanding like what did you need in that moment? And then for me being, somebody that believes in God is just like obviously allowing God to work through me as a vessel. So like I don't fully like I know the direction that we should go based on like, do is a war map, seeing like where you are and then where you want to go, what the bridge looks like. So like we know the direction we're going, we just don't know all the path and the steps to get there. But we go through the framework. I mean, the very first thing is the release stage. And that's literally is like releasing old belief, releasing resentment. Just that alone just transforms.
How do you do that? Is there a strategy or a method? I have resentment. A lot of dads that I speak with have resentment. Is there a process that you put us through?
I mean, literally just like, hey, when I say resentment, who do you think about? Right away, you have 5 things come up. Like, that doesn't matter how far back it is, right? One of
Yeah.
the guys that I coach is, one of the first things that came up for him was somebody that he remembered 8 years ago. And when he finally went to reach out, he realized the guy died 8 years ago. So literally, he held resentment for 8 years over somebody that's no longer here. But that still weight is so heavy on him, right? And men were so big. You really hear many men say, especially, that's mine. I'm gonna carry this cross. Like I'm not gonna share with anybody. It's mine to carry, and it's like a badge of honor. Versus like, who asked you? Nobody asked you. Nobody asked you. And if you can't share with your wife, it's fine. But you can have a group of guys, and I think that's what we talk about that are up in the community, that you can come in and say space and be able to actually release what's going on. Because your wife might not always be able to handle all of that, right? Because if the king comes in and say he's scared and say this and say this is fear, and then they're gonna be like, oh God, he is losing his shit. I need to take over
Yeah.
because I need to protect my kids. And that is very consistent. If the guys come in and say that they have fear or they're unsure, the wife takes over. Not because of him. She takes over because of her kids. She's like, I gotta protect my kids. He's going through things. I don't know what he's going through. Like her motherly protective instinct kicks in and he gets kicked out.
Yeah.
There's very few women that come in and can just really hold that space for him, not get triggered by it and feel like, oh my, I gotta go to the kids, and just realize like, he got this. I just need to encourage him. I need to rub his back. I need to hold him, right? Not because he's weak, not because he's a little boy, but it's because he needs that to go back to war. Because it was hard.
That's why you got your spear right next to you, right?
Right, just a reminder. There's a reminder there for me.
Yeah. So that's why, for us, I'm the sports guy, you're a sports guy, basketball, together each achieves more, the team acronym, in Data Up, we have the TDM, together each data achieves more. So what you described, and again, there's a lot of the redefinition of what it means to be a manly man, right? Go out, make the money, come home, don't have emotions, kind of figure it out. You're a dude, you got to figure it out. Don't ask questions, don't have emotions. But do you feel that it's important for guys to be able to communicate, to vent, all that stuff, especially to potentially their peers, people that have been there?
Yeah, and I think to do it the right way. I think that there's
What's the right way look like for you?
well, there's no bullshit. Like you just say how you feeling. Where's your heart? Like I don't need to hear the close so many accounts and this is it. Yeah, things are great. Do you know what I mean? Like nobody like no. This is like you realize that when you start to elevate your circles. When you start to elevate your circles and you've gone through seasoned men that are mature men, that are not shallow men, that are deep men, that have gone through so much pain. There's a different depth and resonance that they have. that you don't even bring the surface level stuff that you might bring in another circle, because you just feel like, wow, this is just so not appropriate. This is not gonna fly here, right? It's just like a brand new entrepreneurs coming into with seasoned entrepreneurs. It's like he can feel the energy is different. He can feel that there's different battle wounds and experience here that he's not gonna bring. Like, hey, I have my website. My website is great. It's
Yeah.
great. He's not, because he knows it's just, wow, this is not going to fly. Here. And so for me, it's just like, yeah, it's the death, and it's not the lying, and it's being who you are, because there's gonna be no judgment here. Because once you understand that we're all mirrors of each other, meaning that what Andrew went through, the pain he got, I got the same pain. I felt the same pain to some level. But if I never share, Andrew is never going to know. They're like, oh gosh, Julien, me too, man. I never knew. I thought it was just me.
Yeah.
But it's like, no.
Well, listen, you are like the dadder, right? So, like you said, you had your first kid, then second, third, then all of a sudden your entrepreneurial stuff. Now you have 6. So what is that journey like? Just going from 1, 2, like, did you have like, we'll just, you love your wife, you'll just keep having kids. Now you have 6. Is there potentially more on the way? And how does that journey with the entrepreneurial side? Is it work-life balance? Do you shut off? I'm sure there's plenty of dads, even myself included. How do you do that? I have 2, and I have them, partial of the time, and still, and granted they're little girls and I'm doing the thing with them, but how do you balance all that?
Yeah, it's definitely my brother's the one who said that, which was very beautiful, and I never thought of it until he said it. It's like we all had the same dad, but we also had a very different dad, right? I bet with you and your 2 daughters, like each one of them still had you as dad, but also as a different version of Andrew. And so you think of this with me, like, sorry, my first kid at 24 and my last kid at 33. One, I didn't have a business. The other one, like, I've been running this business for like over a decade. Like, there's just very different things that have happened in there, And so it's one is this understanding that they're not all going to have the same childhood. They're just not. So to try and be like, I'm going to give everybody the same, it's just not realistic, right? It's not something you can achieve. And also understanding just like personal time matters a lot. The more kids you have, the more like it becomes important, right? Just like, remember, you play sport, and it's just like when your coach will have a one-on-one with Andrew, let's walk. Andrew, you feel different. It was like, oh, let's have a meeting or an appointment with like all the quarterbacks or all the special teams. It's just not the same.
Nah.
It's just being able to understand that this is this personal relationship. And yes, the more kids you have, the more time it takes to actually do it. That one is like criticize. And it's a very hard thing to do or to not do, because you don't label it criticism. You label it coaching, you label it teaching, you label it like, right? You label it something else.
Loving on them, yeah.
Right. You label it whatever it is, but it's understanding just like kids are going to model whatever you're doing and saying. And so your voice is going to resonate. And when you start to do the deep work in you and you get to remember those moments when you were little, then you get to understand that. And then magically your kids are really your greatest teachers, right? You understanding the wounds that you have that have not been healed and are being exposed by your kids. Maybe the control, right? You want to control the things because you're an entrepreneur and your kids don't let you control them, and you losing your shit because you're like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And you realize like, oh my gosh, like I always need to be the one driving, right? Which can, some people label it control. I can't just be there and let them be the person telling me how what we're going to do today. And then just be there. Not trying to be like, what? No, something smarter will be. Whatever. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how you do it. And it's not perfect. And everybody's fathering journey is going to be different. And at the same time, it's going to be the same. And being okay with that. You're going to mess up. They're going to mess up. They're kids, right? Like somebody told me, just like it's your first time being in this role, and it's their first time being in that role.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you expect? You know what I mean? What do you expect? You're all going to learn. And so if I can come in and apologize, Andrew, when I make a mistake to my kids, or tell them like, I don't know, or tell them like, hey, things are hard right now. I don't have to explain. I just have to tell you the truth. Because kids, especially these kids, have a super high BS meter. When you're trying to lie and be like, yeah, no, things are great. And it's like they feel something is off.
Yeah,
and so when they can't reconcile their feeling with like the reality, then they feel whole. When they can't, like, it's this irregulation in their body. And that was used to be the biggest thing for me, is like, that's when this thing happened with my wife, because my wife knew something was off and I didn't tell her, because I thought, it's my cross, I'm going to, until I told her, and it just like connected things where she didn't feel she was crazy, because I stopped lying there. I just told her the truth about everything, you know? And so the same thing for your kids. You tell them the truth, their body understands now, versus like, something is wrong with me.
How many girls, how many boys do you have?
4 boys, 2 girls. So I have boy, girl, 3 boys, and then 1 girl.
Would you say you're a great, bros dad? Would you say you're the best girl dad? You're great at both? Is it a bit different for both? You deploy the same strategies? Let's get a little into that.
I'll never say I'm great at anything. I think it's, who say that? It's like saying that you know is pretty much you not knowing, So I'm not great at any of it. I'm do my best with both of them. I do know that boys are very different than girls. Obviously, I run a dance studio, so I have many girls over there. I have a big pool of experience when it's there. One thing I can say is girls ask a lot more questions than boys before they do the action. Boys ask very few questions.
Head down, run into the wall.
Yeah. But very few questions, mess up a lot. And it's understanding going to mess up a lot, because they have to truly learn through the experience of the pain, right? Of the boys, they can tell me, like, you're going to fall. Okay, I got to let you fall.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not going to be so bad that we have to go to the ER. But that is literally what they have to go through. And when you correlate that with like coaching men, is for them to understand that you can either learn from somebody else's experience and not go through the carnage that others had to go through, or you can go through the carnage and get divorced and lose a kid. This year's the year that I almost lost my son. My oldest son was trying to, commit suicide. And it was things that I didn't, we didn't necessarily see, my wife and I, or she felt it, or I evaluated it, right? And so it's things that I've known some that have literally lost their kid. They didn't have the opportunity that we have to be able to see with different eyes and make radical decisions for us to be able to be back whole and move forward. And so, yes, you can go through the carnage because you like, oh no, men want to take from me. Women are the one that literally go through coaching more than guys. Why? Because they understand that this is serious to them. They're not playing around. They're not here playing around. They want to buy the experience and compress the time, where guys are thinking like, no, Andrew wants to take something from me. Julien just wants to sell me on. And it's like, no. I want you to not go through the pain that I've seen others go through. I want you to not lose a kid because you didn't see how emotionally you were just not stable for your family. I don't want you to have to go through a divorce because you just didn't see your wife, didn't hear your wife, didn't know how to communicate with her. Or I don't want you to take your own life because your identity is tied to be an entrepreneur. And suddenly your business is failing and you don't love you. It's like, that's the reason, not the other stuff, which is the unhealed versions, right, that we talked about. Screw you guys, I'm gonna be better. Competition. That's why guys don't collaborate as much as women. In the business world, women collaborate like crazy. Guys just like, I don't know, what's the rev chair? I don't know, what am I getting? What are you getting? You know what I mean? Versus like, oh no, there's more than enough for both of us. We're still going the same direction. This mission is so big. Let's move.
Yeah. I mean, based on some of the messaging you're saying, we're definitely aligned. I'm a big progress, not perfection guy. To your point, the second thing, you crushed it. There's always a couple things that you could have done better. But let me ask you, I'm just curious. So if you look back over your 6 kids, what's one thing that looking, we're all together in heaven, downstream, right? Chilling. And at that point, hopefully the Jets had won the Super Bowl. So I'm in the best mood ever in heaven. And we're like, all right, Julien, let me, if it's cool with you, pop in the VHS. You may be old enough to know what that is. And let's look at, your 6 kids. What's one specific thing you did as a dad that makes you really proud of yourself, that you did really well at, whatever that looks like? And what's one thing, if you had the ability to get into your head a little bit earlier, you say, hey, listen, this is something you should have potentially worked on earlier. This is something to look out for.
I'd say probably the thing that been the proudest of is being present in my kid's life when I was not physically there. We're not living physically in the same place.
How'd you do it?
Just intentionally making the time. And the thing that I've been the most proud of is them able to tell me, it's like you never left, right? Because it's intentional. And that's why I share with men, it's just like you and your wife being teammate. is more important than you and your wife being friends. It's more important than you and your wife being lovers, like being teammate. Because a teammate is like, I got your back, right? You got my back, I got your back. I'm gonna need support sometime. You're gonna need support. And having that view, it changes your eyes on like how you want to move forward. So to me, like right now, like has been, in my 40 years, that's probably been one of the things that I've been the most proud of.
Where did that come from, you think? Like, how did you know to do that higher knowledge around that?
I don't know. It just, for me, again, it's just like in this life, things have been accelerated for me. I think when you accept the call and when you accept the call and you ask God to be hands and feet, there's a level of acceleration in your life that happens, and when you understand, it's just like, hey, you prayed for this, and now you have to go through this so that you can actually have the depth required to navigate, because I know that my kids are going to go through this. My kids are part of my DNA. There's a study that came out that was showing that how you are carrying the fears of your dad and your granddad. So that means like if I'm afraid of losing my business, or I'm afraid of being made fun of because I'm mixed and you're white and my other friends are black and they don't accept me, and I carry that fear in me, then I'm gonna pass that to my kids. They're gonna be afraid of just like not being accepted in a group, so they're gonna do whatever they can to be accepted because they're afraid of just being pushed away. But if I can go and I can heal that and I can understand it, and for me, I understood that it did not come from me. I understood that not my grandma, my great grandma had a kid when she was a maid for a white family and got pushed away by everybody. And I felt it, but I didn't name it. I didn't know what it was necessarily until I did some research and I realized, holy shit, it doesn't even come from me because my mom didn't have it, but she did. Yes, it did. And so now my wife is Caucasian. My wife is, like from, she's American, Western Europe, descent. It's like our kids are mixed. So if I'm not here doing the work to understand this and really transforming, seeing the beauty instead of like mixed races, then my kids are going to take this on of like, I don't belong anywhere because I'm so different.
Is there something specific though you think you could have tweaked as a parent? You would have, I hate to say done better, but is there one thing, for me, just as an example, I was definitely, to your point, intentional, present, all the good stuff. There were times being an entrepreneur that I kind of relegated my job as bedtime, right? Put them to bed, and that's my favorite time. Two little girls reading the books, the Moocorn book, the unicorn book. But there are moments when I don't think I was there mentally. I don't think they realized because they were little. That's something I would have loved to, you go back to yourself 8 years ago, like, hey, listen, that problem at work, the market, the interest rates, I don't know, mortgage company, the interest rates, who cares? This is potentially 7 minutes you'll never get back. That's something that I probably could have done better. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I got my first kid like early 20s. What do you know, right?
I was bouncing in the Hamptons, Julian.
There you go. What do you?
What
Do you?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all. That's all I know.
I was out there trying to play some Call of Duty. Like, what do you know, right? And my dad, entrepreneur too. Had a little airplane company in the Congo. It's like he was 1 month in, 1 month off. So like I remember many memories, and it was a very that loving, will always be there for big moments. Like all the big moments, he was there. When I got to college, he would want to, help me out, just get some stuff for the dorm. When I moved into my first place, he was there. First kid, he was there. Those are the moments that I still like have inside that are just like small wounds, right? I made it to the national team when I was younger, was a captain. My family was never there. They had never been in one game. And that's literally the thing where that's the pinnacle almost, right? As an athlete, it's just like you playing for your country, and then you're the captain, but your family is not there, right? And so like there's still this small wound in me. And so for me, it's just like I know if I carry it, that I need to be so intentional to be there for my kids' event. Like so intentional. Because it's your chance to be able to heal those wounds by being there for them. It heals you. Right? And then not being so attached to success. I think that's as an achiever, like you want to achieve. But inside of like one of my medicine journey I did, like I had my eyes closed and I was just like, God, what am I going to see? What am I going to see? Like when am I going to get out of darkness? When am I going to see it? And it just opened my eyes and it just hit me. And it was that you see the light when you open your eyes to see what's already there. What's already there? Your two beautiful daughters, the work that you get to do, the life that you get to help. It's already there. Then your number one job, your number one service, is your family. What if that was truly the direction, where it's like, it's not about like building a community first or getting people mortgages first, or it's like, what if it was like my daughters? That was my first job. I don't care about all the other stuff. That's my first job. Once that job is done, then I move to the next job. But it's never the reverse order. And for me, it has been the reverse order for a long time. We're just like, well, I gotta close this person real quick. I gotta, register this student. I'll be right there. So it was never as my first job or my first service until I got those revelations. I realized, wow, right? Wow, very few have that many kids.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that specific share. I could tell you that I've put in the work there. I could tell you for me, I mean, listen to dads who, right, wrong, different, got divorced, and they're, you call it solo parents, if they don't have another partner with them. I get caught up to your point. It's like a businessman, entrepreneur, got a lot of stuff going on, and then the kids are there. But I've been trying to do the opposite, enjoy the moment, enjoy the journey. So actually, I'm on a weight loss journey. I'm not as much of a stud yet as you are, so I'm working on it. But so it's cool. Instead of me like getting a sitter or whatever, I brought them to the gym, where my house is in the clubhouse. But I ended up, I was on the treadmill. They were like, "Oh, Daddy, can we do the treadmill too?" I'm pretty sure they had to be 16. They're definitely not 16, but nobody was there. So I had them on the treadmill with me, and I took a picture. It was like the three of us kind of each on our own tread. But I caught myself in the moment. I was thinking about work. I was thinking about all these things, listening to music. And then I looked, and they're there. And it's like, couldn't have been a better moment. So I've struggled with that for many years. But, as of late, I don't know if it's like a 44-year-old, whether it's a midlife crisis or a revelation or, sometimes, like you said, you shut your eyes. Certain type of music for me, if I shut my eyes and I open it, and I just feel like I see a little bit better, to your point. But I just had literally a specific moment around that. So if we fast forwarded with your kids 30 years, and they're all at that point, I mean, never know with technology, right? With AI, robots, and all that stuff. But they're in the backyard, having a barbecue. What's one thing collectively you hope they would say about you?
Well, I have this amazing vision of being 100 and being old people with all my kids. I told them already. I was just like, how beautiful would it be? Like, we are all there and we're old.
Still got it, though. Still got
We're
it.
all old people. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, we're all old people. And like, that would be beautiful. There's only 24 years difference. So imagine if I'm 80, you know what I mean? Like, or if, let's say, if I'm going to 106. So if I'm 106, my oldest will be like 80. It's going to be, because we're, 2 years, about 2 years. So it's like 80, 78, 76, 74, and then 69. I'm like, we're all old people there. I'm like, that vision is so vivid in my eyes and in my body, that is so beautiful, and it's such a long game for me that I see, which is like to stay radiant, to stay vibrant, to stay active, so that I can be there. And we can all be old people. And at that point, there's no more lines. It's just literally just like, wow, we made it all the way here.
Is there something you think they'd say about you, collective? Like, man, Dad was cool. Man, Dad showed up. Man, he was a spunky dude.
I mean, I think that which should probably be the one that all men want, is just that my dad loved me.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than a kid feeling like that their dad doesn't love them, even if it's not true.
So many
right?
people I've spoken to on the show, the same thing. The lead with love is check the ego at the door, lead with love, and then do the thing. Like, and that's what you're talking about. Whether you're there, physical, not physical, be attentive. I couldn't agree more.
Is the asking, right? You can say that you did it for them, but can you ask them, hey, does that make you feel loved?
And you are right. Your relationship, how you show up as a dad, is different with each of them. The older one, what she
Right.
wants. The younger one, what she wants.
My girl's always food. My girls is all about, they feel, my youngest one is like, she feel the most love whenever I'm eating and she can eat my food. She won't even like dance, you know what I mean? Like, you give her food, she's like, that's when you know it's so good. Right? So like, you can feed her and then you're about to eat and it's like, ah, man. And then she's like next to you and she's like, and you give her, and then the other one is just like, taking her on a little, milkshake run, or, you know what I mean? Like, that makes her feel loved. My son is like, it's a little bit different, for them. For them, it's like they get most excited whenever you can game with them. You can go into their world.
Yeah.
My oldest son is in this place of just like, he feels love when he's allowed to have freedom and make mistake and not being, like lectured about the mistake, right? Sometimes, yes, getting the things, but more about the trust of the freedom, and not coming with like, boom, hammer down, you messed up, I told you this and you lied to me, and he feels most love whenever you can give him freedom. And so yes, there's understanding that every one of your kid is different, but also that there are boundaries and consequences to things, you know, and you and your spouse being teammate and knowing that it's just like, hey, we got to be on the same page, right? Because before, just like my wife would be like, I'll be the one having to give the spanking. I'm like, I don't want to give her spanking. Like, I literally not even mad. I have nothing. Like, I don't know how to go from nothing to like having to give some. And that was like years ago, like, you know. But like, I would literally fight her on it. I was like, no, I'm not. Like, it feels so weird, like that I'm the one that has to do this, and I was not even there. Like, I'm so confused, you know.
Yeah.
So yes, I think that's what I would say.
All right, so our next segment is our Flex Fire segment. So I'm going to ask you quick questions. You're just give me a quick answer, whatever's on the tip of the tongue. All right, so the first one, what's one trait every intentional dad must master?
Apologies.
Complete this sentence. Legacy is
not what you do.
a stereotype about dads that we have to retire.
Dad bod.
I'm working on that literally this morning. I had my, not to go on a tangent. I don't disagree. A fatherhood lesson your own father taught you.
Don't yell.
What's a fatherhood lesson? What's one that he didn't teach you that you had to teach yourself?
EQ,
Which
emotional intelligence.
Got it. What's one thing you believe sons need from their fathers?
EQ, emotional intelligence.
And do daughters need it too, or they need something a little bit different from their fathers?
I think they need it too. I think this is like the most underrated skill set of parenting, you know, and of relationships, just even in business. It's literally because it's taken to extremes, you know.
Two more kind of like get to know you questions, right? So if you had a grill off, who would win, you or your best friend?
That's a great question. This is a great question. Part of me wants to say me because I would be like, no, this is exactly what I wanted to do. But I definitely don't have reps.
No.
No, so it'll be 100%, you know, intuitive cooking. I feel it's good. That's exactly what I wanted to do anyway.
So when you come home, your 6 kids are there. They're all at the door, right? You come into the driveway. Your windows are down. You're rocking. What song?
What song? Oh man, sometimes no songs. Sometimes no songs. I drive. I have silence or I have a book. They like to say
That's
it
a
sometimes.
great answer. That was the first time someone said that. And it makes total sense. You know, for me, I know with relationships, you know, I have a bit of a psych background. It was don't bring your day home. So I'm sure you're you know, coaching your guys, and especially like, is it your kid's fault that you had a bad day? To the point of everything we said, no. You know, one of the strategies was if you're in a relationship, pick up like a point. If you go home and you have to get off the highway and go on a side road, then cross a thing, like pick a point that gives you about 10 minutes, no electronics, turn everything off, take deep breaths, and like unwind yourself physiologically. So you know, same thing, walk into the house, you're not just like unloading, you know, like you just, to your point, lost a deal or something happened bad at work. And now like your wife, you're just unloading on her. It's the same thing with your kids. You know, I've found for me, if I don't do a good job there and I come home, they're like, hey, dad, whatever. I'm like, hey, just not there. You know, it's not fair to them, especially if you don't see your kids 100% of the time. If you have a blended family or divorce or whatever it is, that is something that I think from a strategy perspective, to your point, it's one thing coming in hot, right? But it's another thing I've struggled and I've worked on, and I've always loved to kind of coach up dads, probably similar in your coaching space, where it's the same thing, relationships for your kids. If you have a rough day, you're an entrepreneur, plenty of things happen in life. You just have to be very cognizant to take that time and unwind so you don't like walk in and the hurricane comes.
Yeah, I like to use the analogy of being a dragon, right? I'm like, don't be a dragon. Like, don't come in and then just,
Yeah.
right? Because you want order and you want order fast, you know, and you're used to command the space in business, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're the leader. It's just like literally you're the last voice, and people kind of like move with it. But when you come home, it's just like you get almost challenged everywhere you go. There's like challenge to your authority to some extent, and so you have the ability to like see it differently, right? You get to see it differently, or you try to overcompensate and use your level of authority or your voice or your, you know, like, I mean, you're 6'3", I'm 6'3", it's just like we're bigger guys. And so showing up like this is just, you don't see how big you are when you show up and you're there next to your kid. So you raising your voice might feel like, I didn't even yell, but for them, it feels like you were yelling. Just
You come
because
home
you
like
know,
doing the Dracarys, right?
Yeah, you have this, I mean, you have it in you, right? But
Yeah.
one of the things that I've told men that struggle with that is just like get in 90 cam and record. Then watch the play, watch the tape. Just like in sports, you watch the tape, watch the tape, and then see if you like what you're seeing. The
That's
first time
tough,
I seen it,
man.
I did.
Right?
It
That's
is.
like look in the
Oh,
mirror
it is.
type tough. Yeah.
Because imagine somebody was there watching you, and you come in and you can tell by your face that you're like this, and you're like right, like, and you're not realizing that this is actually what they're seeing because you only see what you're seeing. You're not seeing you and the way you're acting. And because I'm not a savior and I'm not here to, to change you and transform you, I'm just a guide. So I'm here to guide you to the mirror. So put the nanny cam. Any guys that struggle with anger, or have those impulses, get a nanny cam at home. If your wife asks you why, you say, because I want to be better. So I want to see how I'm showing up. And then every time the waves have passed of emotions and the expressions, watch it. It is painful to watch tape. Like you play sports and your coach is watching tape. Nobody likes to watch tape
Yeah, when you
in the
had the
beginning.
yell, definitely don't watch the yell.
Yeah, nobody likes to watch it in the beginning because you're like, oh my gosh, the way I look, the way I sound, the way I move, and then you get to the place of like seeing the nuances. Then you get to be able to be better. Now you get to see, oh yeah, the way I walk in the house, it starts. But yeah, the way like she comes to me and she keeps on trying to get my legs, and I'm like, I'm here stupid on my phone. Like, what the hell? Like, I'm just looking at my phone the entire time. It didn't feel like I was looking at my phone. But now you get to actually see the reality of like what it actually is, right? And it's painful, and you're gonna cry, and you're gonna have tears, and you're gonna be upset, but then you're gonna get a realization because eventually, if you don't, then eventually your wife is going to leave you because she's gonna have enough of it. Because she keeps on telling you and you don't change it, and you don't change it not because you're an asshole, you don't change it because you don't see it. And somebody can tell you and you just like, I don't think it's that bad.
Until you see yourself.
Until you see yourself, until you hear yourself. And then you realize like, what the heck have I been doing? And then you start to put the boundaries.
Yeah, it's
Of
time to
like,
put in the work. Put in the work.
yeah, you protect you from you, right? Because sometimes it's that. It's just like, yeah, you picked up a call that you should have not, you don't answer emails after 9 p.m. because 10 p.m. because there's never a good email coming after 9 or 10 p.m. Because now you're going to be stuck in your head about like, I want to handle this fire before tomorrow. So like you start putting boundaries in place to protect you from you, which is the phone goes away and I'm home. All my kids are here. There's nobody that needs me right now. Period. Phone is turned off, away, in a room charging because nobody needs me. That is important. Everybody is here. You see what I'm saying? Like, but you're putting boundaries in place because you've noticed now you have the awareness of it.
Well, listen, Julien, it was super cool to connect with you. I didn't know any of this backstory stuff, so even for me, it was super cool hearing you open up. So I appreciate that. Just you and your calling, helping men. I call it like calling them to the carpet to be a better version of themselves. Obviously, it's amazing. It's amazing how it correlates into the fatherhood space. So thank you so much. So I'm going to ask you. So we end with the Dardarian Creed. So I give a quick once over what my creed is, and then we end with letting you take us away with our rally cry, which is "Let's Dad." So at the end, when I say, Julien, can you do me a favor? Can you take us out? You're going to say, yeah. You're going to go, "Let's Dad." Can you do that for me?
I can do that for you.
Can you make it like can you actually, let's start over. Can you take the spear? Can you hold it? No, seriously. And at the end, the "Let's Dad," that'll be the most famous thing I've ever done. All right, here we go. So I'm a dadder. I don't chase perfect. I chase presence. I lead quiet and confident. I build my family, my foundation, and my legacy. I take reps in patience, discipline, and love. I break old patterns, not promises. Legacy isn't someday, it's today. Julien, take us out.
Let's Dad!
That takes the cake. Julien, thank you so much for your time. And thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Until next time, we'll see you then.